Have you ever wondered if being too nice could actually be hurting you? Society loves to praise kindness. Be generous, they say. Put others first. It sounds noble. It sounds virtuous. But what if this very quality, the thing you're most proud of, is quietly dismantling your peace, draining your energy, and opening the door for people to take advantage of you? No one tells you that kindness has a dark side. But today, we're pulling back the curtain. In this video, you'll discover 8 hidden dangers of being too nice. And by the end, I'll give you 4 powerful, Stoic-backed strategies to protect yourself without turning cold or heartless. Let's begin with a hard truth. 1. You'll set your hopes too high for people. Let's face it, you want to believe in others. You want to think that if you show up, give your best help when needed, and offer a shoulder to cry on, the world will repay you in kind. But the Stoics warned us long ago, expectations are the birthplace of disappointment. The more we pour into people, the more we start to assume they'll be there for us when we need them. But here's the problem. When that moment comes, it's often crickets. Why? Because you've conditioned everyone around you to believe that you've got it covered. You became the one who never says no, the fixer, the emotional sponge, the planner, the rescuer. And slowly but surely, people stop checking if you're okay. They just assume you'll handle it. And here's the kicker: while you're quietly drowning under your own stress, those same people are simply doing what the Stoics say we should do, taking care of themselves first. It hurts, doesn't it? You gave your all, and when you needed a little back, there was nothing. But maybe the world didn't fail you. Maybe you failed to draw the line. 2, people will start expecting from you, not appreciating you. There's a dangerous shift that happens when you're overly kind. What was once a heartfelt favor becomes a silent expectation. At first, people are grateful for your help. They smile, they thank you, they lean on you. But over time, those thank yous become fewer. The help is assumed. And the more you give, the more invisible you become. The Stoics taught that our value comes not from meeting others' desires, but from living with virtue, logic, and moderation. When kindness turns into a compulsive need to please, it stops being virtuous, it becomes self-destructive. You start doing things not because they are right, but because you fear what will happen if you stop. You worry people will be upset, disappointed, angry. So you give, again and again, even when it hurts. But here's the truth: when you always say yes, your yes loses its meaning. And worse, your no becomes offensive. So ask yourself, are you being kind or are you being afraid? 3, you'll start neglecting yourself. When your focus is constantly on others, something has to give. And unfortunately, that something is usually you. You skip meals to help someone meet a deadline. You cancel your weekend plans to babysit for a friend who really needs you. You lend money you can't afford to lose. And you do it all with a smile, hoping anyone will notice how tired you are. But they don't, because they've never seen you put yourself first. And if you don't prioritize yourself, why should they? Over time, your physical health begins to fade. Your mental clarity clouds. Your passions and dreams get shelved for someday. But someday never comes, because you're too busy being everything for everyone. 4, you'll lose your emotional boundaries. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, like someone just vacuumed all the energy out of you? That's what happens when you're too emotionally available. There's a fine line between empathy and emotional enmeshment. The Stoics believed in practicing emotional detachment, not coldness, but control. They knew that letting your emotions run wild for others can become a form of self-betrayal. When someone is upset, you feel responsible. When they're stressed, you carry it. When they're angry, you wonder what you did wrong. Eventually, you lose sight of where their emotions end and yours begin. This kind of emotional overinvestment doesn't make you kind, it makes you fragile. And it opens the door for people to manipulate your feelings without even trying. So what's the alternative? Imagine a version of you who helps from a full cup, who listens but doesn't absorb, who gives but with clear limits. That version doesn't just survive, they thrive. And in this video, we're going to help you become that person. But before we move on to the next point, take a second to reflect. Have you been giving too much lately? Do you ever feel resentful after helping others? Is your kindness really coming from strength or from fear? These questions matter because the cost of being too nice is high. But the reward of living with healthy boundaries? That's freedom. Let's keep going. The next danger might hit even closer to home. It all starts with one innocent gesture, helping someone because you care. But before long, you may find yourself stuck in a cycle that feels less like kindness and more like quiet self-erasure. You see, people get comfortable quickly. When you're always available, always giving, always stepping in to save the day, something strange happens. They begin to expect it, not just appreciate it, but rely on it. And that's where the danger creeps in. You unintentionally become their excuse to stay within their comfort zones. You do the heavy lifting emotionally, practically, sometimes even financially, and they never have to face the weight of their own responsibilities. Why would they when you're always there to carry it? But here's the heartbreaking part. The more you sacrifice, the more invisible you become. If you don't place value on yourself, don't expect others to do it for you. People are unlikely to pause, look you in the eye and say, you know what? Maybe you should take care of yourself for once. That moment rarely comes. Why? Because acknowledging your exhaustion means they'd have to start carrying the burdens themselves, and that would cost them. So they stick to their comfort and you keep giving even when it drains you. This leads us to the third hidden cost of being too nice. Your goals, your dreams, your desires get left behind. The Stoics emphasized a life built on reason and virtue, not one sacrificed endlessly for others. They taught that we must set limits and prioritize our own responsibilities if we want to preserve our balance and sense of self. But when you constantly put others ahead of yourself, you risk running from something deeper, something within. Ask yourself, how do you feel when you're alone on a quiet weekend? When you come home and no one's there to greet you? Do you fill your days with obligations to avoid sitting still with your own thoughts? If you're using overgiving as an escape, it's a temporary shield. Sooner or later, you'll have to face the silence inside. And when that time comes, it'll be even more painful because not only will you be dealing with internal discomfort, but also the resentment of having neglected your own needs. Emotional burnout, disappointment, quiet frustration. These are the inevitable outcomes of placing everyone else above yourself. So how do you shift the tide? It starts with radical self-care, not the Instagram version of self-care, but the real kind, the kind that says, I matter. My needs are valid. My joy is not selfish. The Stoics wouldn't call this indulgence. They'd call it discipline. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't support others from a foundation that's crumbling. Before offering someone a piece of chocolate, make sure you've tasted and enjoyed one yourself. Before helping your friend clean their messy life, ask, have you cleaned up your own? Go home, wash your dishes, light a candle, put on a good movie, and sip a glass of wine. Let your nervous system breathe. The rest of the world can wait. This brings us to the next truth. People will see you as weak and treat you accordingly. It's a painful reality, but it's one you must acknowledge if you want to reclaim your power. Stoicism teaches us that strength doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being disciplined, grounded, and firm in our boundaries. When you don't set those boundaries, people start to assume you don't have any. And when you lack limits, you start to lose respect, not just from others, but from yourself. You might think that by helping too much, you're earning admiration. But in many cases, the opposite is happening. You're teaching people that you're always available, always flexible, always willing to bend, even when it hurts you. And over time, they stop seeing you as a leader. They stop seeing you as someone in control of their life. You become in their eyes someone easy to manipulate, someone who lacks backbone. Is that how you want to be remembered? Imagine a version of you who still helps, but from a place of intention, not obligation. A version who offers support without losing themselves. That person earns real respect, not because they say yes to everything, but because they know when to say no. And that's what we'll explore more in the next section. But for now, take this moment to reflect. Are you helping from love or from fear? Are you giving from fullness or from avoidance? And most importantly, what is the cost of continuing like this? When you say yes to everything, people learn something very quickly about you. They learn that they can hand off their responsibilities, their burdens, even their laziness, and you'll pick it up without hesitation. Your silence, your willingness becomes permission. Soon you're no longer seen as helpful, you're seen as the default solution. Their mess, your job. Their last-minute emergency, your sacrifice. But here's the shift that changes everything the moment you finally say no. It might seem small, a simple refusal, but it creates a ripple. Because suddenly people feel something they hadn't associated with you before: respect. It surprises them, maybe even confuses them, but it plants a seed. You're no longer the person they can manipulate with guilt or expectation. You're someone with limits, someone with self-worth. Of course, not everyone will respond kindly. Some will try to push back. They'll give you excuses, guilt trips, or disappointed looks. You'll notice a pattern. Certain people only show up when they need something. They don't check on you. They don't celebrate your wins. They just reappear when they're low on something, money, time, emotional support, and expect you to refill them. Stoicism warns us to be wise in who we help. It's not about becoming cold or selfish. It's about developing the self-control and clarity to tell the difference between those genuinely in need and those who simply want to take advantage. Because if you're not careful, you'll spend your life running in circles, helping everyone but yourself. Think about it. Have you ever had someone who only calls when they need a favor? Maybe they used to be close. Maybe they even called you a friend. But over time, you realize the pattern: they vanish when things are good and return only when they want something. This isn't a coincidence. It's common human behavior. Most people don't invite their coworkers or employees out for a casual coffee or weekend hangout. And if they do, it's usually with an agenda. So if people are treating you like a resource instead of a relationship, it makes sense. It's not fair, but it's real. And understanding that reality is the first step toward protecting your energy. Because when you don't protect it, something else begins to happen. You stop attracting people who want to give. You start attracting people who only take. Let's be honest, relationships are energy. We attract what we reflect. If you're constantly exhausted, emotionally drained, and saying yes to everything, your energy level drops. You start vibrating at a lower frequency. And what happens when you vibrate low? You draw in people who match it. You start meeting people who are negative, bitter, insecure people with heavy emotional baggage and a tendency to drain. They may not be bad people, but they're looking for someone to dump their pain on. And if you're wide open, they'll find you. On the other hand, when your energy is strong, when your boundaries are intact and your kindness is balanced, you naturally attract people with light, with ambition, with joy. So the question becomes, what kind of people are you drawing into your life? If you're always surrounded by those who want to take and never give, it's time to pause, to assess, to protect your emotional vibration. Because here's the next danger: you could end up addicted to overgiving. Yes, addicted. It doesn't feel like an addiction at first. It feels like virtue, like being the good person, but slowly it becomes a pattern, a habit, one you feel compelled to repeat even when it hurts. The Stoics warned us of this exact trap. They knew that if you're not careful, your good deeds become rituals that disconnect you from your purpose and values. Self-discipline in giving is crucial. It helps you keep a healthy relationship with your actions. You give when it aligns with your principles, not when it fills an emotional void or helps you avoid something inside. Because when you're constantly lacking, whether it's love, validation, or meaning, you become desperate to fill that hole. And the easiest way to feel needed is to keep giving, to say yes, to stay busy. But that's not strength, that's a hidden dependency. And like any dependency, it begins to control you. So before we move forward, ask yourself, are you giving because it's right or because you're afraid to stop? Do you feel resentment growing beneath your smile? Are you surrounded by takers because you've forgotten how to receive? There's still time to break the pattern. And in the next part of this journey, we'll begin the shift from blind giving to empowered boundaries. It starts small, maybe an extra drink after dinner just to relax, then another. And before long, it's not just the wine, it's the late night snacks, the online gambling, the things you swore you'd never get hooked on. Addiction doesn't always come crashing through the door. Sometimes it tiptoes in wearing comfort and routine. It disguises itself as deserved treats or well-earned breaks. And by the time someone close to you notices you're in too deep to see it yourself, they might say, "Hey, I think you're drinking a bit too much lately." Or maybe you've been gambling a lot these days. And what's your first reaction? You snap. You get defensive. You tell them, "I'm fine. I don't have a problem." But pause right there. That reaction, that's the trap. That's the sign something is wrong. Because the people who care about you, truly care, don't bring these things up to hurt you. They bring them up because they're watching you sink and they want to throw you a lifeline. Often the most difficult truths come from the people who love us the most. But pride, denial, and emotional exhaustion can cloud your judgment making you reject the very help that could save you. So listen closely. When someone you trust tells you they're worried, don't dismiss it. Don't let your ego speak louder than your reason. The Stoics taught us that awareness of the self is one of the most powerful tools we have, not just for growth, but for survival. When we become numb to our own behaviors, we drift. We fall. And that's how good people, kind people get lost. And this leads to the next trap of overgiving and excessive kindness. You'll make people suspicious. That's right. In a world filled with skepticism and hidden agendas, being genuinely kind often raises red flags, not gratitude. The Stoics taught that we should do good not for praise or reputation, but because it's aligned with our principles. Live rightly regardless of how others interpret your actions. Still, reality hits hard. We wish the world would applaud kindness, but instead people wonder, what's their angle? Why are they being so nice? What do they want from me? When you consistently act out of compassion instead of inspiring admiration, you may trigger doubt. People may assume you're hiding something, some secret motive, some hidden plan. It's unfortunate, but it's real. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're surrounded by bad people. Sometimes it's just their own life experience speaking. They've encountered too many manipulators in the past, and now your kindness feels too good to be true. So what can you do? You can't change how everyone thinks, but you can protect yourself from being drained, misunderstood, or taken advantage of. And that starts with strategy number 1. Pay attention to how you feel. The Stoics placed immense value on self-awareness, not in a shallow, self-centered way, but in a deep, reflective sense of honoring your emotions as signals. Ask yourself, how do you feel when you help others? Do you feel light, energized content? If so, you're probably giving from a healthy place. But if you feel anxious, bitter, tired, or drained, something's off. That's your internal compass telling you to stop, reassess, and set boundaries. Because here's a truth many people miss. Putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's wise. It's necessary. You can't build a better world for others while living in a crumbling one of your own. Imagine the way it feels to finally take care of yourself, like walking on clouds, like breathing fresh air after being underwater too long. If that's not how you feel when helping others, then it's time to stop and ask yourself, who are you really helping, them or the version of yourself that doesn't know how to say no? Self-awareness brings you back home to your truth, your energy, your peace, and it reminds you that you matter just as much as everyone else. There's a unique kind of frustration that comes from doing something you never truly agreed to, when you say yes out of guilt or habit and it leaves a sour taste afterward. That tightness in your chest, that exhaustion in your bones. It's your body trying to tell you the truth your mind keeps avoiding. You can't lie to yourself forever, so take a breath and be honest. How is all this helping really affecting your health? That brings us to strategy number 2. Don't be afraid of the word no. The Stoics taught us to guard our time and energy like sacred treasures. They believed we should act with intention, not obligation. Every yes you give is a piece of your life you can't get back. And when your plate is already full, saying yes to others becomes saying no to yourself. But we're conditioned to fear that little word. No. It sounds harsh, final, even cold. It stirs guilt and anxiety, especially if you've always been the person others rely on. Still, if you never say no, what are you really agreeing to? A life dictated by everyone else's needs. Self-control isn't just about discipline, it's about knowing your limits. Saying no when you're overextended or when a request feels unfair is a mark of strength, not selfishness. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable. You might worry about disappointing others or seeming rude. That's normal. So practice. Stand in front of a mirror if you must and repeat it out loud. No, I'm not available right now. That doesn't work for me. It's not about being unkind. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, your freedom. Every no is a small act of liberation from the burden of pleasing everyone but yourself, which leads us to strategy. Number 3, carve out time and space for yourself and defend it. Imagine a moment just for you. No requests, no obligations. Just you, your favorite tea, soft music, maybe a quiet walk or a sketchpad in hand. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. According to Stoic principles, self-discipline includes honoring your personal space and time. You are not a machine made to serve endlessly. You're a human being who needs restoration. So make this non-negotiable. Put it in your schedule daily or weekly. Block off time just for yourself and treat it like a sacred appointment. Not flexible, not optional. If someone asks for help during that time, they better bring kindness. And even then, you have every right to say no without guilt. And if you're someone who avoids direct rejection, there's still a way. You can offer to help at another time, but clearly set boundaries. Let them know it'll be brief and that you have other important things to tend to. This isn't selfishness, it's structure, it's balance, and it teaches others how to treat your time with the respect it deserves. Now on to strategy number 4, identify energy vampires and step back. You've probably met them. The people who leave you drained after every conversation. The ones who never ask how you are but always unload their problems like you're their personal therapist. These aren't just needy people. They're energy thieves. And according to Stoic wisdom, they pose a direct threat to your emotional balance and clarity. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate relationships that elevate us, not ones that quietly eat away at our strength. You must learn to recognize who truly contributes to your growth and who merely consumes your energy without giving anything in return. It's not your job to fix everyone, especially not those who refuse to help themselves. Trying to heal an energy vampire is like trying to fill a bottomless pit. Their complaints never end, their crises always come back, and their gratitude rarely present. Instead, they overwhelm you with negativity, complaints, drama, self-pity. They dominate conversations. They ignore your boundaries. And no matter how much you give, they always want more. So how do you deal with them? You don't fight, you don't fix, you step back. Put distance between your peace and their chaos. Not because you're heartless, but because you're wise enough to know your emotional limits. You're protecting your mental health, your focus, and your sanity. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care enough about yourself to stop sacrificing your energy for people who don't respect it. Some people don't want solutions, they want sympathy. That's the truth you'll need to accept if you want to protect your emotional energy. No matter how much you try to help, to lift them up, or to offer solutions, they cling to a catastrophic view of life, like it's a warm blanket. Misery gives them identity. Complaining gives them control. If their problems disappeared, they'd be forced to face the silence of peace, and they wouldn't know what to do with it. It's a hard pill to swallow, but not everyone wants healing. Some want attention, some want validation, and others just want an audience for their suffering. When you encounter someone like this, the best thing you can do is step back. Not because you don't care, but because continuing to help only enables the spiral. And that brings us to the final insight. According to Stoic wisdom, the healthiest path in life is almost always the middle one. Balance isn't just a nice idea, it's a necessity. And when it comes to generosity, moderation is everything. If you give too little, you risk becoming self-absorbed, emotionally distant, even seen as greedy or cold. But if you give too much, if you pour yourself into everyone else without pause, you'll be left completely depleted, drained of energy, time, focus, even money. And worst of all, you lose yourself in the process. So where is the line, the Stoics would say, lean toward the gray zones, not the extremes? Live in that space where empathy coexists with boundaries, where kindness doesn't cost you your well-being, where saying yes feels aligned and saying no feels free. And speaking of that magical word, don't forget it. It's not just a syllable. It's a boundary, a filter, a shield. It protects your energy, your peace, and your purpose. So next time someone tries to tug at your time, your wallet or your mental space in your gut tells you something feels off, trust it. If they're calling out to you from the window of their car, offering a ride home you never asked for, remember you don't owe them your comfort. You've now reached the end of this video, a journey through the silent dangers of being too nice and the Stoic tools that can help you reclaim your strength. If you've made it this far, thank you. That means something. It means you're ready to reflect, to grow, to begin honoring your limits without guilt. And if any part of this message resonated, if it helped you think differently or brought clarity to a struggle you've been quietly carrying, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It helps more people find this wisdom. People like you, people who want to grow but don't always know where to start. Finally, hit subscribe for your daily dose of Stoic insights. Every day, a small reminder that you are in control not of the world, but of yourself. And that's enough. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay centered, stay stoic.